Okay, so we're diving into something pretty incredible today.
Mhm.
You know that ESPN article you sent over about the Houston Cougars pulling off that insane comeback against the Duke Blue Devils in the Final Four? It's the kind of finish you just can't make up.
No, you really can't. It was one for the ages, and you know what makes it even crazier? Duke looked like they were cruising to the championship game for a huge chunk of that game. They were the clear favorites coming in with some serious NBA talent on their roster, and they were playing like it.
Yeah, the article really lays it out. I mean, you look at the score with just over 8 minutes left, Duke up by 14 points after a Tyrese Proctor free throw. At that point, you figure it's all but over.
Right, exactly. And even later, with just 3 minutes on the clock, Cooper Flagg, who's having a monster game himself, hits a three to push the lead back up to 9. It felt like the final dagger for Houston. The article even talks about how stunned the Duke bench looked as things started to fall apart.
And yet Houston just wouldn't quit.
Yeah, LJ Cryer summed it up perfectly after the game. He said, "It ain't over because they still got time on the clock." That right there, that's the mentality that fueled this whole comeback. They just never gave up.
And it resulted in a 9-0 run in the last 35 seconds. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, you read that and you have to do a double take.
Yeah.
To erase a deficit like that in such a short time on that stage, it's mind-blowing. They somehow pulled out a 70-67 victory from what looked like a sure loss.
So in this deep dive, we really need to break down a few key things. First, we got to understand what exactly Houston did to pull off that comeback. What strategic adjustments did they make in those final minutes that allowed them to completely flip the script? We also need to look at Duke's late game performance. What went wrong for a team that had been so dominant? Was it solely Houston's pressure, or were there other factors at play both offensively and defensively for Duke? And lastly, what does this result mean for both programs moving forward?
Okay, let's start by digging into that Houston comeback.
Yeah.
What were the key ingredients that let them completely shift the momentum?
Well, the article really emphasizes LJ Cryer's performance. He was on fire, leading all scorers with 26 points, and he drained 6 three-pointers. When you have a guy hitting shots like that, especially in crunch time, it's infectious for his team and completely demoralizing for the opponent.
Yeah.
It totally changes the game.
No doubt clutch shooting can be a game changer.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just offense, right? The article makes it clear that Houston's signature pressure defense played a huge role in those final minutes. It really gave Duke fits.
Absolutely. Houston's defense is always ranked among the best in the nation, and they really dialed up the intensity in those last 2 minutes. It's important to remember that their defensive prowess isn't just some abstract statistic. In those final moments, we saw specific tactical adjustments. They employed a more aggressive full-court press, doubled Duke's primary ball handlers, and it visibly disrupted their offensive rhythm, leading to those crucial turnovers.
Those turnovers were huge.
There was this one play in particular where Joseph Tugler's incredible wingspan forced Sion James into a rushed inbounds pass. Houston immediately steals it, leading to a momentum-shifting dunk by Tugler, with just 25 seconds left on the clock. That was a major turning point, both strategically and psychologically.
It sounds like the kind of play that can completely unravel a team clinging to a small lead. And the article even quotes senior guard Malik Wilson saying it gave him deja vu vibes because of the relentless pressure they applied on those inbounds plays against Kansas in their previous comeback win. So this isn't some fluke for Houston.
Exactly. It shows that this level of resilience and defensive intensity is baked into Houston's DNA. It's a testament to Coach Sampson's program building. The article mentions that Coach Sampson specifically told Tugler to be on the ball during those inbounds plays, intentionally baiting Duke into attempting a longer pass. He was gambling on Tugler's reach and anticipation to disrupt the play. It was a calculated risk that paid off big time.
And even after that steal and dunk, Duke was still in it, down by just 1 point. Then we had a really crucial sequence involving free throws.
Yeah, Tyrese Proctor for Duke misses the front end of a 1-and-1, a scenario that can often swing momentum in a tight game. Then on the rebound attempt, Juwan Roberts boxes out Cooper Flagg and draws an over-the-back foul. Now, Roberts had struggled with free throws in their Sweet 16 loss to Duke earlier in the tournament, but here he steps up to the line with all that pressure and calmly sinks both free throws, giving Houston their first lead since the very beginning of the game. Talk about composure.
Talk about overcoming adversity in a huge moment. And the article even mentions assistant coach Kellen Sampson bringing up their free throw troubles in that previous Duke loss, emphasizing how crucial those made free throws by Roberts were. And then to ice the game, Cryer steps up and calmly hits 2 more free throws in the final seconds. It really feels like a complete team effort fueled by that relentless defense and capped off by clutch shooting.
You nailed it. It wasn't one guy carrying the team. It was a concerted effort on both ends of the court. The stats from the article are pretty telling. In that final stretch after Duke went up on 14 points, Houston outscored them 28-11. They shot a much higher percentage from the field and from three-point range, while also forcing 5 turnovers compared to just one of their own. That's a complete and utter momentum swing.
Okay, so we've really broken down how Houston managed to orchestrate this improbable comeback. Now let's turn our attention to Duke. What were the key factors in their late-game meltdown? How does a team with that much talent, with a comfy 9-point lead with just 3 minutes left, let it all slip away?
Well, the most immediate and glaring issue highlighted in the article is their offensive struggles down the stretch. They only made one field goal in the last 10 minutes and 30 seconds of the game. In a Final Four game, that kind of offensive drought is almost impossible to overcome. After Flagg's three-pointer with 3:03 left on the clock, they just couldn't buy a bucket.
It's shocking for a team that was widely considered to have one of the most efficient offenses in college basketball this season. The article even points out that since the 1996-97 season, Duke had the highest offensive efficiency rating in the country. To go ice cold like that at the worst possible time, it's truly baffling.
It is. And while the lack of scoring is the most obvious symptom, Coach Shire actually pointed to their defensive performance in the second half as a major concern. He said they gave up 42 points in the second half, which he felt was uncharacteristic of their team's defensive capabilities throughout the season. His point was that even when their offense might have sputtered at times, their defense usually provided this ability to get stops and maintain a lead. That defensive solidity just wasn't there in the second half against Houston's relentless pressure.
So it wasn't just Houston's increased defensive intensity forcing tough shots. It sounds like Duke's defensive structure also broke down, maybe leading to Houston getting better looks and gaining confidence as they saw the ball go in.
Precisely. And the article also mentions Duke's past struggles with closing out games earlier in the season. It references losses to Kentucky and Kansas, where they had similar issues in crunch time. While the article notes that they had gone a while without being in a really tight one-possession game, they had reportedly reviewed film and felt prepared for those situations. But unfortunately for them, that preparation didn't translate into successful execution against Houston's pressure and unwavering belief.
It's interesting that those earlier struggles are brought up. It suggests maybe those late-game issues hadn't been fully addressed, and the pressure cooker of the Final Four might have exposed those underlying weaknesses. And then, of course, there's the final possession when they put the ball in the hands of their star freshman, Cooper Flagg, for the potential game winner. He said it was the play. Coach drew up, he drove to the basket, got off a contested jumper, but it just wouldn't go down. He said it was a shot he's willing to live with.
And his teammate, Sion James, echoed that sentiment, saying he trusts Flagg to take that shot 100 times out of 100. It makes sense that they'd go to the most talented player in that moment, especially considering the incredible game Flagg was having. But even the best players miss shots, especially under that kind of pressure with a defender like Roberts in his face.
Absolutely. So it seems like it was a perfect storm that led to this incredible turnaround. Houston's relentless defense creating turnovers and disrupting Duke's offense. Duke's own offensive woes resulting in that long scoring drought, uncharacteristic defensive lapses, letting Houston build momentum, and then that potential game-winning shot just rimming out.
You got it. It was a combination of Houston seizing the moment with aggressive play and unwavering belief, and Duke faltering under pressure and failing to execute in those final minutes, leading to what the article describes as both a stunning Duke collapse and a desperate Houston comeback.
Okay, so we've thoroughly dissected the game itself. Now let's zoom out a bit and think about the bigger picture. What does this result mean for both the Houston and Duke programs?
For Houston, this victory is massive. It sends them to their first national championship game since the early 1980s. For a program with their history, that's a long time coming. This win validates the consistent success they've built under Coach Sampson, and it's a huge step toward potentially winning their first national title. The article also mentions their upcoming championship game against Florida, which adds another layer of excitement to their incredible run.
Definitely. This has to be seen as a program-defining win for Houston. They've been consistently good, knocking on the door of a Final Four for a while now, and this dramatic comeback against a blue blood program like Duke in the national semifinals makes a statement.
On the other hand, for Duke, this is obviously a heartbreaking end to their season. They came into the tournament, and especially the Final Four, with high expectations. The fact that they had such a big lead late in the game and couldn't close it out, it's got to sting, and it's a memory that'll stick with them for a while. Despite an amazing freshman season from Cooper Flagg, their inability to execute effectively in those crucial final minutes will likely be the story of their tournament run.
It has to be especially disappointing for a program like Duke with their championship pedigree. The article quotes Sion James saying, More than anything, it's disappointment. And their belief that they fully believe that we had the best team in the country and we had a chance to prove it, that really highlights how much this missed opportunity means to them.
It does. And, in college basketball, with players potentially leaving for the NBA draft every year, the window of opportunity for this specific group of guys to win a national championship is now closed. That makes this loss even more significant for Duke.
This deep dive has definitely shed light on the remarkable chain of events that led to Houston's unbelievable victory. Their refusal to give up the relentless defense and the clutch plays from guys like Cryer and Roberts, it all came together to create a truly unforgettable finish. And for Duke, it's a tough lesson on the importance of focus, execution, and composure right to the very end, especially in high-stakes games.
What's really interesting about this game is how quickly momentum can shift in high-pressure athletic competitions. It shows how important the mental game is when teams are competing at this elite level. Confidence can disappear in an instant, and pressure can either make you play better or lead to crucial mistakes.
So here's something to think about. Think about the psychological impact of such a sudden and dramatic turn of events in a game this big. What can we learn about resilience, about the importance of staying focused and keeping your cool until the very last second? Not just in sports, but in your own life. It's a powerful reminder that as long as there's still time on the clock, the final outcome is never truly set in stone.
Absolutely.
Great stuff. Thanks for breaking this down with me.
My pleasure. Always happy to dive deep.
And for everyone listening, keep that final thought in mind. Stay resilient, stay focused, and never count yourself out until the clock hits 0.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Until next time.
See you then.